Yo guitar freaks, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the studio. Today is gonna be very fun because we are gonna check out some classic tones. 1960 Strat into one of my favorite amps ever, the Marshall JCM 800-2203 reissue. It's still got the UK transformers, it's an older model. And also we're gonna answer the question, is this guitar worth 5,000 euros or dollars or whatever? We're gonna check it out. Okay, so today's guitar is the 60s Fender Custom Shop Strat. Very nice looking Journeyman Relic, and we're going straight into another classic, the Marshall JCM 800. It is a version which still has the UK transformers, and those are the settings. So basically I started out with everything at noon, so master and preamp are still at noon, and so is the mid frequency. I dialed in a bit more bass, and presence and treble I took out a bit because the Strat is quite bright as it is. Then what's on the menu? So the pedal board, I'm using just a RYRA Klon as a boost, which sounds great with a Strat, so hardly any gain here. Treble at noon, output at noon, and also using the space echo in the effects loop of the Marshall. And then of course the Marshall JCM 800 goes into a Marshall 1960 AX cab, loaded with greenbacks. We have two microphones going on, ribbon mic in the top left and dynamic mic bottom right, and that is about it. So hearing both microphones, tasted to blend. Personally, I like to dial in a bit more of the ribbon mic, especially for those kind of lead tones and when the guitar can be a bit more pronounced and it's not just sitting somewhere specific in a mix. So is this guitar worth the $5,000 that you have to pay for it, or the 5,000 euros? Here in Europe we have to pay a little bit more on those because of the import and the fees that they have to pay, and the currently not so advantageous political climate, I shall say. And it's an astronomical price, to be honest. Pay $5,000, especially when you compare it to other guitars that might offer a very similar spec but at half the cost. So for me personally, I didn't buy this one. I traded it in for my old Les Paul 58 Custom Shop, and I love that guitar, but for me it was a very rational decision because I always gravitated towards playing the Strat when I had the Les Paul and a couple of Strats in my stand. I never picked the Les Paul. Why? Because it's just clunky. Although it was a rather light one, 3.7 kilograms, I specifically selected a light one. Still, I prefer playing a guitar that's only 3.1 kilograms. So that's more than half a kilogram of difference. And I'm gonna put the pounds for my American friends down there. It's just a huge difference. Also the ergonomics of the Strat, for me, much better. And I have to admit, a Les Paul into a Marshall amp, that's one of my favorite tones to begin with. But I also have a Strat guitar that has humbuckers in there, so I'm still getting that growly Marshall tone from a humbucker without having that insanely expensive Les Paul laying around, and I'm not really using it. So better that somebody else has fun with the guitar and enjoys playing a Les Paul. For me personally, it's just not worth sitting around. I like to play my guitars. I like to play every single one guitar, and if I find that I'm not using one, I'm selling it or I'm trading it in for something that I'm actually keen to use. So currently, with my financial situation, I cannot justify having a 4,000 euro guitar just laying around. So long story short, I traded it in, and this guitar I'm actually picking up each and every time I'm in the studio. And yeah, I'm just basically a Strat guy. I have to be honest to myself. So this guitar, this specific model, is a 60 Strat with a Journeyman Relic, and the color, which is quite ambiguous, it's quite the chameleon, because depending on where the light comes from, it always looks different. So sometimes it's a radiating turquoise, sometimes it looks bluish, sometimes it looks kind of green. And they call it surf green. So it's not seafoam green, it's surf green. And yeah, I really love the fact that the color is, depending on the light, it's always a little bit different. And yeah, for me, I'm really a sucker for those greenish hues. So this particular model has a 10-inch radius, which for me personally is great. I love 12-inch radiuses as well, like a Les Paul. Also a 9-inch radius, but 9-inch, I sometimes feel that it's a bit uncomfortable doing the arpeggios or some legato stuff. I feel more comfortable when it's a bit flatter, but that's really just nuances. And yeah, 10 for me personally is a very good compromise. So this has a C-shaped neck. It's not a thick neck and it's not a thin neck. It's very round and I really like it. For me, I differentiate between guitars that I feel comfortable around playing for 3 hours, which is more on the rounder side, and then more like the sporty kind of neck, the Ferrari neck, where you, or I personally only want to play for maybe half an hour and it feels great shredding around. But that's not the kind of shoes I want to be in for a long session. This one is more like the very comfortable kind of shoe that you would want to wear all day. This one has the Poblano pickups in there. They sound great. We have a vintage trem with 6 points. And also we have the truss rod down here at the pickguard, which is hard to reach, but it's possible. And basically the only thing that I had changed on this guitar is the fret wire. I had put stainless steel jumbo frets on this one because that's my personal fret wire that I use all the time and I just love it. For you vintage fans out there, it might be really blasphemy to put some stainless steel frets on this guitar, but for me that's just a personal preference. I love the feel of those frets, and I'm well aware that the resale value of this guitar actually goes down once you put stainless steel or jumbo frets on such a vintage guitar, but as I said, I really love it and I also think it sounds great. Some people argue that with the stainless steel frets you get too much treble on your tone. Well, then just go to your fucking amp and dial the treble down a notch. So it's yeah, some people get really ridiculous about this kind of stuff, and at the end of the day it's just the most important thing how the ergonomics with your left hand are from my point of view. So we have the very classic spaghetti logo, and here you can see we have the vintage tuners, the Custom Shop logo, and from behind, very unspectacular, we have no comfort cut around the neck here. It's just a normal 60s Strat. It's completely stock except for the frets. And now let's dial in some nice tones with the Marshall amp. Let's go. Okay, now let's check out some honest dry tones. Just the Strat, straight into the Marshall, and then afterwards I'm gonna engage the boost pedal to see what is happening to the front end of the amp, to the gain, to the sustain, and then on top I'm also gonna add a little bit of space echo to have a bit of fun. But first now, Strat into Marshall, what's happening? So this is very twangy in the bridge. Not very usable for hard rock sounds. It sounds very, yeah, very twangy. Yeah, it's a quarter sawn maple neck. We have a rosewood fretboard, and we have the alder body, which is a standard for Strats. Nitrocellulose lacquer, which is also a standard for the custom shop guitars. And also what I find nice is that the knobs and also the pickups, they are a bit aged, as well as the bridge. It looks very cool. Okay, so let's check out what you're actually getting here. So you get this little booklet where, yeah, it's a bit used here. That's not part of the relicing though, but you get your certificate of authenticity, and you get a spec sheet where you have all the specs listed that the guitar has, which I think is very nice, especially if you're doing a YouTube video and you have to check what kind of color it actually is and how it is called. But this thing, the quality doesn't feel too good, to be honest. It's they could have invested more, but it feels like they saved a bit of money here, which, yeah, for 5,000 euro guitar, no, it shouldn't be the case. I mean, fair point, if they save the money here and put it in the guitar, then I'm all good. The quality of the guitar is very nice. I cannot find anything on it that I would complain about. And okay, they saved on the booklet a little bit. That could be like real leather. It feels, yeah, like it feels like a cheap wallet, if you know what I'm saying. And also the case that you get with the guitar, that also feels a little bit cheap. Like if you press on certain spots, it has like a plasticky feel. And once again, it feels like they're saving a bit of money on those kind of things. So what else do you get? You get a custom care card, which was not opened by me or the previous owners of the guitar. You get an owner's manual. Also cool. I never checked that out, but there are pictures in there. You get a huge sticker for your garage. Also the hang tags. Hang tags are always nice. You get the initials of the guys who did the prep, assembly, tuning test and inspection. Also cool. And the final thing is get a set of additional springs for the trem and also the ashtray, which of course I am not applying, but it's kind of a nice historic kind of collection item. And that's all there's to it. So that's all you get for 5,000 euros. Okay, so now let me engage a boost. So it becomes much fatter and more sustainy. It's not a very gainy tone. It's still challenging to play, but it's just a much nicer lead tone. Okay, now let's get the wet tones. Let's engage the space echo. So is the guitar now worth 5,000 euros or $5,000? That is the question. I would say no, probably not. What you get is not worth 5,000 euros or dollars when you compare it to other premium brands that are not as well known as basically the biggest guitar brand in history, which is Fender. So if you go to a premium builder and have a 5,000 euro or dollar guitar build, like Nax guitars, or name any other custom Strat that you can get, like a Sir, or there's so many brands that I probably even don't know, where you get more for your money. You get a nicer case, you get a nicer booklet, you just see that people take more care, and they do care more about having the experience be like a fully immersive kind of expensive boutique guitar investment. And you don't get that from this guitar. And you get a super nice guitar with nice relicing, and also the build quality is superb, I have to say. I love how they took attention to detail with the guitar, but not so much on the other things, I have to say. So that's definitely a point for other guitar brands. If you have the 5,000 euros, consider other guitar brands, to be honest, where you get more for your money. On the other hand, these guitars, they hold their value. There are also guitars that are always sought after, always. So a Gibson Les Paul from the Custom Shop and a Fender Strat from the Custom Shop, I guess those are the most sought after guitars on the market, so you can always be sure that they will hold their value if you buy it used for a reasonable deal. And also there are always people looking to buy this guitar. So if you get a custom guitar from a relatively unknown guitar builder, you might get a super nice guitar for 3,000 euro, but you will never sell it because nobody knows it and nobody can judge if it's really worth the money. And then you have to wait a long time to sell your guitar, and that can be annoying if you are not so sure about buying a new guitar. This is always a safe bet, so to say, if you have a little bit of experience in buying used guitars and you're not gonna be fooled by some guy who's actually selling you a total rip-off and you buy it for 5,000. So you need some experience. You can buy it from the used market and then it will hold its value, and you can sleep very, very comfortably because you know that you can always get your money back. Also with a Relic guitar, if you knock it on the table, you don't have to be very afraid that some guy will call you out that there is a little ding there, and he will only pay 500 euro less because it's not mint condition. That's another benefit from buying a Relic guitar, just saying. So another important question is if those specs are actually worth $5,000. So what you're actually paying for is an old timer. So you're not getting a state-of-the-art guitar that holds its tuning as good as can be. You're getting an old guitar, you're getting an old timer that looks cool, and you're not getting like a super modern guitar that has the best ingredients, which are currently known to be the best for the spot. Like, for example, stainless steel frets. They just last longer. Why would you put in frets that don't last as long and you have those grooves inside after playing for 2 months? There's just no reason. Also, the neck heel on the guitar is just outdated. There is no reason why you wouldn't have a comfortable access here, and also maybe another fret here. It just has 21 frets. So that's really an old timer. So of course you can shred on this guitar with the stock frets, but that's really not what it's made for. It's rather, from my perspective, made to make you feel something, make you feel like you get inspired when you look at it, and that's exactly what I get from it. I don't pick this up because I can shred up here in the highest register. and get to the 24th fret. It only has 21 frets. I get stopped by this thing here, which reminds me, this is an old car. Don't go too hard on me. So this is the kind of feel that you get, and if that's the kind of vibe that inspires you, absolutely, you need it, because I can look at this guitar each time I come to the studio and I get a vibe and I want to pick it up, and that's worth a lot of money, to be honest. If you want to pick up the guitar and you want to play, that's, yeah, infinite amount of money. If you get that same feeling from a guitar for 1,000 euro, then probably the 1,000 euro guitar is better for you. An old timer, it only appeals to a certain amount of people, and if you're one of them and you know it, then this guitar is probably for you. That's it from my side. Lots of talking. Is it really worth 5,000 euros? You tell me now, and I shall see you on next video. Rock and roll.